Shapez 2 released to early access in August 2024 so that we could take the feedback from the community and further develop Shapez 2 into what it is today. Now, it shipped with the visuals that we were satisfied with at launch, though we're always looking at ways in which we can improve and refine the player's experience. And a lot of consideration goes to the visual design of the game. But before I talk about the changes that are coming to 1.0's visuals, I think it's really important to understand why we make changes. This is because the visuals are the player's first impression. It immerses them into its world, and notably for an automation game like Shapez 2, it communicates the game's mechanics, which is why everything designed in Shapez is based around the following 5 principles. Now, the first is open building design. You'll notice that each of our buildables cleanly demonstrates what it does, whether that's cutting an object in two, painting, or stacking shapes together. Our second core principle is making each element easily distinguishable from one another through size, silhouette, contrast, and color. And thirdly, the designs need to work from a gameplay perspective, both when designing up close, but also from a space building level when you're building further away. The fourth principle is viability. So for example, if reworking trains will take 6 months to implement, will it be worth the time that we invest? Or would that be better used elsewhere? Or could even making these changes have considerable impact on the game's performance, which is certainly more of a restraint when it comes to a smaller sized developer like ourselves here at tobspr. And finally, and most importantly, do these changes keep in line with our vision of the game? As Max, the art director, beautifully put it, you wouldn't put Disneyland's fairy tale castle as the background level for a Dark Souls boss fight. That just wouldn't work. Everything needs to feel in place. Which is why you may have noticed over the past 18 months we've updated the visuals. This was mentioned in our November devlog on Steam, where we highlighted the process of improving visual fidelity to some of the older assets, such as the train stations, as you can see between these two shots here. And whilst on the subject of trains, all train visuals have actually undergone improvement, from the trains to the loaders, the stations, and also packages. We've also reworked the visuals to a handful of features, such as the fluid system. Originally, the shape launcher and fluid launchers were very similar in design, and we wanted to make a better distinction between the two, which you can see has been greatly improved, with the launcher, catcher, and liquid ball better reflecting fluid. And we haven't stopped there. Fluid space pipes better reflect their liquid nature with straight and curved sections piped, showing the fluids inside and their junctions covered. From further away, you'll be able to clearly distinguish the fluid balls from the shapes, which now show on space belts, allowing you to easily see what's going where in your factories. We've also adjusted the colours to the space pipes, which were influenced by the community from our Discord posts. So if you're interested in helping us with our future polls, you can find a link to the Discord page in the description below. And whilst on the subject of space pipes and belts, numbers have also been added to each of the floors to represent the floor levels that the resources are travelling along. And we've improved the input and output visuals of the space belts. One of the most useful features I've personally found in Shapez is the shape previews, showing us what shape we're producing prior to the shapes being made. This allows us to quickly see any errors and to fix them prior to running the whole system. This was limited to the factories, but have been fixed and now work everywhere for space platforms and for trains. The wires system is possibly the most complicated of systems that we have in our game, allowing logic to be introduced to your factories towards the late game, and this is something we really want to make easier to understand, as it's such a big part of the end game for those who want to build the make anything machines. So we've actually completely overhauled the wire buildables, making them easier to understand. Now this was something that we had planned to do all along, but given the sheer amount of buildables that needed touching up, it was demanding a lot of time. And speaking to Max, the art director on this, it's clear how much work goes into each of the visual overhauls. For wires alone, the original design featured a glowing wire distinguishing them from the conveyors and the pipes, but this was a temporary placeholder until the wire rework. We wanted it to look more like a wire, finding ways to improve the glow, along with adding contrast with bracing pieces and a dark grey cap underneath to help separate it from the floor. Now, once a concept was ready, the various positions needed to also be considered. How would it look as a corner piece, or if it was raised above the ground? Only then was this new design passed on to the 3D artists and details finalized. This was the same process for the logic gates and simulated buildings, and I'm sure you'll agree that the improvements are night and day here. We've also reworked the crystals, as the original placeholder looked noisy from further away, so we've made changes to make it easier to read. Now, equally important when considering visuals is the user interface, as this makes navigating the menus and also the HUD accessible and easy to use. Now, I'm sure you've played other games where the in-game menu design is just so bad that either you've stopped playing or perhaps you've downloaded mods to make the experience better. And that's why we've restructured the knowledge panel into multiple categories, and it's now searchable, making it easier to find articles, like this new one on the Make Anything machines. We've improved the readability of the shop and research interface, making it clearer to see which milestones are unlocked, and to aid with this, we've added notifications for when new research is unlocked, and with the implementation of a new game mode, we've improved the game mode selection visuals as well. Which brings me to our newest upcoming addition to the game, Manufacture Mode. Now with it comes new buildables in the form of trade stations and also our new converter shape. The new shape was formed around the idea of them being a cut gem, which was explored with multiple concepts prior to us arriving at this design. These new shapes are produced in the new trade stations, which themselves, along with the hub and research stations, also needed designing. The initial concept started off quite different to the end design, with curved exteriors similar to individual space stations, but this felt a little funky, not quite fitting in with the overall feel of the game. With that in mind, they were redesigned and built with modules, which could then be reused for other trade stations. Now these were then crafted into different shaped stations before given a pass with color to make them easily recognized as separate entities, and the transfer rocket crafted so that it blends into the overall design. This is just a little preview of the work that goes on behind the scenes here at tobspr and the processes that we use to develop Shapez 2 on its journey to 1.0. And I will be sharing more videos like this in the future, so why not consider hitting the subscribe button if that does appeal to you. And if you want to know more about the manufacture mode that I've just mentioned, then make sure to check out our previous video on it, which I'll link now. But until next time guys, thanks for watching.